Hello, everybody. Welcome to Unit 4, Day 1. And today, really, we're going to be focused on the presidency of Thomas Jefferson. So we left off the last unit talking about the election of 1800, how it came down to the House of Representatives, and how Thomas Jefferson emerged the victor after 36 ballots would happen, or 36 votes would happen in the U.S. Congress. So finally now, after the battles between Hamilton and Jefferson over the years of Washington's presidency, and then of course you had John Adams in there who was a Federalist, you're going to see that Thomas Jefferson really gets to play out what his vision of society would be, what his vision of American society would be. And really, remember, Jefferson had that vision of an agrarian society, and he kind of saw us being the breadbasket of the world. Jefferson had been deeply affected when he went over to Europe and served as an ambassador there after the American Revolution. He had been deeply affected by seeing the effects of the early Industrial Revolution over there. And to Jefferson, he looked at how the factory workers worked there and what the conditions were like, and he said, I don't want that for America. He said, I don't think that that's a good way to live. He aspired to everybody being able to own land and to farm, and that we wouldn't have to have factories here in the United States, that the factories could be contained to Europe, and we could be based in agriculture here. Now, was that realistic for the whole country? I don't think it was, simply because we had already started down that path, especially in northern areas. So Jefferson's going to come in there, and again, his administration really does get to change the trajectory of the United States. You're going to see that with his election and throughout the time from 1800 to 1824, we have Republican rule. The court system are going to change. Eventually, the Federalist Party is going to die off during this time. So really, he does get to put his vision into play. Now, another thing with Jefferson is you're going to see he does have to make some concessions. He was a man of very, very strong convictions, and he realized that with politics, sometimes you do have to make concessions and things that you deeply believe about. One of those big concessions that he would make is with the Louisiana Purchase. Remember, Jefferson was a strict constructionist. He believed you follow the Constitution word for word. You did not read into the Constitution. You did exactly what it said. On the other side, loose interpretation, that would be Alexander Hamilton. Well, when the land becomes available for the Louisiana Purchase, Jefferson really had a quandary on his hands as far as what to do with this, because he looked at buying that land as being unconstitutional. All of his advisors said, no, it's not unconstitutional. It's within your power to make treaties with other countries to be able to do this. And that is what is going to push Jefferson to do the Louisiana Purchase. And when you're looking at his presidency, you can really say the most long-lasting effect of his presidency is going to be the Louisiana Purchase, because it doubles the size of the country and starts us on westward movement, which you'll see by the end of this unit, we will be we will be all the way to the Pacific Ocean. But the Louisiana Purchase, again, really does do that, and it did require Jefferson to step outside his convictions at that time. Like I said, though, his advisors were able to convince him of the constitutionality of it. Of course, some people in the country would not be happy with that, especially your Federalists that were located in the Northeast, because they saw us as extending out west, as slavery extending, and that reducing the power of the Federalists in the Northeast. You're also going to see in Jefferson's presidency battles between him and the courts, especially his cousin, John Marshall. In the most famous court case of Jefferson's presidency, you're going to see the Marbury versus Madison decision. And this is a decision that really defined the power of the courts. In this decision, John Marshall stated that the Supreme Court could basically oversee the president and Congress, and if they did something wrong, that the courts could rule that unconstitutional. You can get more into the case as you go through this about what the case was actually about and what had happened. But really, this is going to be the first time that you are going to see the courts really define what their power is. And it's hard to think about today, like the power of the courts, what they are outside of saying things that are unconstitutional, at least the federal and the Supreme Court, because that is so much of what we see the Supreme Court as today, as saying, hey, is something constitutional or unconstitutional. But before this really hadn't been their power, and this would be a power that John Marshall creates. Like I said, John Marshall was Thomas Jefferson's cousin. They did not get along very well, mostly because of political views that John Marshall was a Federalist and Thomas Jefferson was a Democratic Republican. So you have all of that with Jefferson, the Louisiana Purchase, and you're going to see technological advances happening in the country during this time. Also, another high-profile thing that you will have happen during Jefferson's presidency is the death of Alexander Hamilton. One thing that you're going to learn with Alexander Hamilton is it was kind of like you either love him or you hate him, and there were certainly people on each side. Well, outside of Jefferson, another person who really did not like Alexander Hamilton very much was Aaron Burr. And that was only made worse after the election of 1800, where Hamilton is the one who pushes the Federalists to elect Thomas Jefferson over Aaron Burr since they had been tied. So you already have issues of that happening. You have Aaron Burr getting caught up in some stuff about maybe trying to have some states secede and create a new country. And anyway, the anger between those two is going to come to a boiling point, and Aaron Burr will challenge Alexander Hamilton to a duel. Hamilton, many people think that he showed up not planning to want to actually shoot and kill Aaron Burr. Aaron Burr, though, wasn't playing any games and did shoot and kill Alexander Hamilton. So really, you're going to see the Federalist Party's biggest cheerleader would be killed off at this time. Aaron Burr, again, he's a sitting vice president and murders someone in a duel. He would eventually go on the run. He would not be elected or not be put in place as Thomas Jefferson's vice president for the second term. George Clinton would take that spot. But you'll see with that, again, political career of Aaron Burr after this pretty much dies off. He would get mixed up in some more stuff in the West, which you'll read about, which would eventually lead to him being arrested and brought back here to Virginia and put on trial in our Virginia Capitol building for treason against the United States, which John Marshall would be sitting as the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and would make the ruling in that decision that Aaron Burr would be found not guilty with that. So a lot happens during this presidency. There are Jefferson's presidency, and in this today, again, I have a really interesting article for you to read there about, is Jefferson a great president? Jefferson, for me, is one of my favorite presidents and one of my favorite people in U.S. history. But really, when you look at his presidency, you'll see his presidency is more of like things happening in backstage, not being out there as much as the public. A lot of people realize that Thomas Jefferson was not a big fan of public speaking at all, and he only did that a handful of years or a handful of times when he was president doing public speaking. Apparently, he had a very high, squeaky voice, and so I think he felt a little bit embarrassed about public speaking, and that's probably why he wrote as much as he did. So I encourage you today, enjoy reading about the presidency of Thomas Jefferson and the revolution that is going to start within our government. Have a great day.